Do you have what it takes to onboard a new client? Like literally, do you actually have everything that you need to onboard your new client? Oh no? Well, lucky for you, I've got a checklist. Hello and welcome to Kiss My A's. My name is Emma Cownley. I'm a freelance copywriter and blogger, and today I'm going to be walking you through the new client checklist. That is to say, a checklist of shit that you need when you're onboarding a new client to make sure you've got what you need, they've got what they need, everyone's protected and knows exactly where they are and what they're doing, and the relationship is probably going to end in marriage, because that's how good it is. As you can tell today, I've got a little something going on, you know. This time last week I had a really bad cold and probably was inches from death, probably. It felt like I was. So 1 week on, I'm barely alive, but I needed to film a video, so you're going to have a lot of, you know, coughing, a lot of mucus. It's extra, it's an extra bonus for this video. And it's special because you don't get to have it all the time. So you can consider that my gift to you. I thought this video would be particularly useful because I myself am quite bad at remembering to do half these things and at making sure I'm thoroughly onboarding the client and just really making sure I have everything I need. There are a couple of reasons for this, mostly because I really don't like change and I don't like to feel uncomfortable. So I have my nice selection of retainers and regular work from people that I know and love, and it feels so nice and safe. So whenever a new client comes in, I'm like, oh dang, what's happening? And I need a little reminder. So I thought, I've done this enough times, should be better at it. Make a video, hold yourself accountable, and also help other people with the information that you share. So that's what we're here today doing. So let's pretend somebody has reached out to you via email and they need a freelance copywriter. Awesome, well done. Something that you've been doing somewhere along the way has worked out very well for you, and that's great news. So what are you going to do next? Well, presumably they've told you a little bit about the project they've got going on, or you've had a call or something and they've explained to you the details and what they're roughly looking for. So now you need to make sure you have all that shit crystal clear in your mind before you can do anything else. Before you can quote, you need to know the full scope of the job. Before you can ask any questions to find out exactly whether you are the right fit or exactly what resources you're going to need to do the work, you need every single frigging piece of information on the project. Hopefully, when the client reached out to you, they had a brief and it was very comprehensive and all your questions were answered and it was a beautiful day. Most of the time, that never happens. So you're going to have to send them a blank brief document, get them to fill it in, contact you if they have any questions, and just try and rinse them for as much information as you can possibly get. Now, over time, you probably will develop your own brief document to flesh out exactly what you personally, specifically need to get a job done, because not every writer falls back on the same types of information necessarily. So over time, really, you would develop your own, but let's assume you don't have a brief template to use for your client. That's not a problem. ProCopywriters have some resources that you can use. So if you're new into freelancing, you don't have a brief template whatsoever, you're trying to figure out what do I need to find out from this client, go to ProCopywriters. You can find resources at the bottom and there are 2 brief templates that you can choose from. So just open up those documents, have a little look through, see if you feel like everything that you need is there. If it isn't, maybe go in, edit your own version of the document and just add some extra pieces and get that shit sent over to your client before you start anything. That way you can make sure you have absolutely everything you need before you go ahead with any of your other preparatory measures. Along with your brief, it might be nice to have a copy of the brand guidelines for the client that you're working for. Now this is assuming that they actually have their own brand guidelines, so let's just assume that already exists. Amazing. It's a great idea to ask about this when you're having your initial email or your initial call with them, because if they don't already have that, you can factor some of those extra questions into your brief template. So how do you talk about yourself specifically? Which words do you like? Which words don't you like? Which website tone of voice do you like? Who is your demographic? And then you can start to build sort of a brand lexicon for yourself to use when you're writing for them, just on the off chance they don't have anything for you. But if they do, get your hands on that shit, familiarise yourself with the brand, and hang on to that Bible just in case they come back with other work for you in the future. Now, in our imaginary client prospecting world, you've received the brief back, it's been filled in, you've got all the information that you need. Wicked. Now we can actually quote for the job. So pull everything together in a nice comprehensive quote, breaking it all down for the client, get it sent over to them, and get them to sign off on the amount. Now, it's important when you send the quote to stipulate that you will need a deposit up front. That is one of the main things that you need to get from a new client before you start work on a project. So, on your quote, make sure you're very specific with everything that you're going to deliver, and that you will need a deposit up front before you start work, and stipulate the percentage of the job fee that you would like as your deposit. Now the client has signed off on your invoice. Awesome. You can send them a writer's agreement. This is one of the most essential things you need to onboard a new client. So what's a writer's agreement? That's an excellent question. Why can you not just start working? Surely we don't want to add any more friction to the onboarding process. If you mess around, surely the client will leave and you'll have lost the work because you dicked about in the early days. No, this is important, okay? Listen carefully. A writer's agreement outlines the entire business working relationship between you and the client. It stipulates who owns the rights to the work at which stage of the project. It outlines exactly what you're going to deliver, exactly what they agree to do for you in return, what the payment terms will be for the job, how much they owe you up front, whether or not you are happy to start working before you receive that deposit, and how long after the job completion and sign-off that you expect to receive your full fee. It also outlines the deadlines for the job and the timelines for the project, and just basically the whole nitty-gritty. Once you've signed it and dated it and they've done the same, it means that you both have protection just in case the job goes south. It also helps to protect you against anything like scope creep, which can be very expensive, and helps to protect against excessive rounds of amendments, which can again eat into your revenue. So this is all things that are going to protect your revenue, protect your time, protect the integrity of the project, and give the client a little bit of safety, because again, if you disappear off, they can say, well, wait a minute, I've got this signed agreement and it says this is what you're going to deliver and you've disappeared, or you've not made good on the timeline, or you've said that you're going to give this and it's missing. Oh, hey, meow meow. What are you doing? What's going on with you? Oh, really? Good for you. You did? Awesome. Now, I don't know about you, but I did not have a writer's agreement just knocking about in my writing toolkit. That's not something I have any experience writing, and I wouldn't know the first place to start, to be honest. Luckily, ProCopywriters saved my ass for a second time, and I promise this video is not an advert for ProCopywriters. I'm not sponsored by them. They didn't ask me to say anything, it's just they're really freaking useful, especially if you're just starting out and you need the guidance of experienced writers or a community. Super helpful, and their resources section comes to the rescue once again in the form of John McGarvey's Writer's Agreement. You can download it, go in, change up a few of the details to suit the project that you're working on. Would you be quiet? Do I have to ask you to leave? I'll include links to everything that I've mentioned in the description box below, so you can go and find those for yourself, but I use it every time. I cannot tell you how many times this writer's agreement has saved my arse. I really cannot tell you. And again, it pays to be very specific when you're outlining exactly what you're going to deliver, just in case. Because if anybody says, oh, and this, you can say, well, actually, I didn't include that in the quote. It's not what we signed off on in the agreement. If you would like that, that's great. I'll have to re-quote or give you an additional quote for that extra work. It also stipulates that if they want excessive rounds of amends, it will be X amount per hour for those amendments. So if they decide that they want, you know, another round just to see, you can be like, okay, but that wasn't in the quote or the agreement, so it will be X amount per hour if you would like me to go ahead with this work for you. Don't do that, though, when you say it. Then in your checklist, you'll need your deposit. You will have outlined in your writer's agreement that you're not going to start until you've received the deposit in full. So the next thing on your checklist is dollar bills, y'all.
Dollar bills, y'all.
I've got one bonus benefit for you, but before we get into that, allow me to recap the entire new client checklist. So you need a full and comprehensive brief of the task at hand before you do anything else. You'll need a brand Bible from the client to make sure that everything you're producing is within their established guidelines. You will need a signed writer's agreement, and you will need a deposit for the work. A final additional flourish to this list, a nice little bit of seasoning as it were, is to make sure that you have business insurance. I signed up for business insurance as soon as I started my company because I'm paranoid. And yes, I hate spending money. I'm really cheap. I don't like spending money on anything. Ask anyone. I'm the cheapest. So I started out with professional indemnity insurance, and I also made sure that I was looking after my equipment, such as my laptop, my phone, anything that I really needed for business, and also that I had insured my health as part of that. So if I get knocked out for any reason with a really bad illness and I'm laid out for months at a time, I don't have to worry about my income because my insurance will help me out, which is a huge weight off my back, especially when I am the whole entire business and my income depends on me and my health and my equipment. It really made sense to do that. Later on, I added public liability insurance to that because one of my clients, who is a very big global brand, said that they would not work with me as a company unless I had public liability and professional indemnity insurance at a certain, they even capped at a certain amount that they wanted it to be up to. So it helps to give your clients a certain amount of protection as well, just in case anything goes awry. I mean, that is the worst case scenario, but wouldn't it be great if the worst case scenario happened, that you didn't have to worry quite so much about it? I'm really good at worrying, and I feel like if I could get paid to do that, like as my job, I'd be a millionaire. I do it for free all day long. I'm doing it right now. So I worry slightly less with business insurance, and again, it's another measure that protects both you and the client. So it's kind of useful to have it before you start onboarding people. And there you have it. That is my new client checklist. I hope this was helpful. Leave a comment for me below. I love it when you guys get in touch and we can chat. So that's awesome. And you can also find me on Twitter at EJCownley. And I'd love to meet up and chat with you there as well if you fancy it. I'm not contagious over the internet. You can find me back here in 2 weeks for more Kiss My A's. Until then, take care, stay healthy. Peace out. Hey babe. Aren't you sweet? Yes. Aren't you a sweet piece? I'm gonna kiss you. Oh, she's so sweet. Oh, she's so sweet. Say hi to the internet.